Yogaha Karmasu Kaushalam.
Hello friends, this is Professor Neelam Panchal from Gujarat University and I welcome you all in this session on managerial roles and skills. Friends, management is a complex task that involves people, processes and problem solving. In a single day, you may find yourself preparing for the next quarter, locating tasks or materials, negotiating for more budget and dealing with the unhappy client or a staff member. An effective manager must possess a wide range of skills, and these skills can be categorized into categories such as managerial roles. In this session, you would learn what managerial role is and how the different types of roles are classified. Some of the challenges faced by the managers are challenges of globalization, challenges of the information age, challenges of quality revolution, challenges of providing able leadership and purposeful direction, sustainable growth, process value addition and re-engineering the organization. A manager needs to be a thinker, a doer and a people-oriented man. Management is a process of integrating resources and the tasks toward the realization of the stated organizational objectives. It is often referred to as a process of planning, organizing, staffing and directing. Management literature labels them as the functions of management. Thus, it involves a process which is functional and social as well as it deals with the people in an organizational context. Let me explain you the objectives of the sessions. The objectives of the sessions are to make you understand basics and types of managerial functions, to make you understand various managerial skills, to understand the role of managers, to understand Henry Mintzberg 10 managerial roles and to make you understand the changing role of a manager in the current context. The changing role of manager from the managerial experience also. Let us understand managerial roles. Friends, a classical study of the top executives found that they pass their time in playing 10 roles, which are grouped under 3 categories: interpersonal, informational and decisionals. So, the study was conducted by Henry Mintzberg and published managerial roles in 1973. These roles are common to the work of all the employees. You can see this figure in which you can see that there are 3 roles that the managers are playing, which includes interpersonal, informational and decisional. If you see this figure, you can see that under that also there are different categories explained. Let us try to understand one by another. So, the first is interpersonal role. The 3 interpersonal roles provide the information and are generally concerned with the interpersonal relationships. The figurehead roles that allows the manager to represent the organization in all the official operations. As a symbolic head, the manager performs several routine duties of a legal and a social nature. As a leader, the top level manager represents the company legally to those outside the organization. The supervisor is responsible for motivating the group along with participating in the hiring, training and other duties as the leader. The manager utilizes the liaison role to gain favors from his subordinates and information, while the supervisor utilizes the same technique to maintain the regular flow of the work. He also uses these roles to create his own networks, external and internal, to maintain the relationships. The second role is informational role. Friends, the informational role ensures that the information is provided and that the manager has enough information to do this routine task. This role ties all the managerial tasks together. The manager in an interpersonal role is placed in a unique position to receive lots of information. The three informational roles are primarily concerned with the informational aspect of the managerial position, receives and gathers the information in the monitoring role, resulting in a thorough understanding of the organization and internal and external environment. Since manager monitors, it is regarded as the focal point of internal and external information. As the spokesperson informs the outsiders about the organizational policies, actions and the decisions. Since the information is received, monitored and stored by the manager, it disseminates both factual and analytical information. Thus, being the industry expert and supervisor is the unit expert. The third role is the decisional role. So, the decisional role is a significant source of information. The manager is positioned in the center of the organizational decision making. There are 4 decisional roles that the manager performs. The manager initiates and searches for the new opportunities and projects to initiate the change in the organization in his entrepreneurial role. So, in the disturbance handling role, the manager deals with the threats to the organization and takes corrective action accordingly. The manager chooses where the organization will spend its resources. He is responsible for providing financial and other resources to the departments or the units or the people, including approving organizational decisions in the resource allocation area. The manager negotiates with the organization in the negotiation process. He connects in the negotiation with the parties outside the organization as well as inside the organization and is responsible for representing the organization in the key negotiations. The top management makes the decisions for the organization while the supervisor makes the decision regarding the work unit. Thus, managers play a key role in the organization and the management helps in the success of any activity in the organization. All the managers, regardless of the level, perform this task with the only difference being emphasis and focus. Supervisors perform these roles with a focused approach and short-term in outlook. So, the figurehead role becomes less significant and the disturbance handling and the negotiation roles increase in importance for the supervisor. The leadership role is one of the most important of all the functions across all the levels of management. Now, let us try to understand management skills. Friends, a manager's job is complex, considering the functions and the roles one must perform. Hence, they need certain skills to perform the functions associated with their job. The key skills of a manager are: number 1, technical skills. Technical skills are those skills which enable an individual to conduct specialized tasks or activities that involve a certain method or a process. Managers develop technical skills to perform the activities that are part of their daily work life. For the performance of each daily activities, a manager should possess a basic education in the related field and gain the knowledge pertaining to the methods, processes and procedures which are used. Accountants, engineers, computer professionals fall under this category, as they possess technical skills required in their specialized fields. it is difficult for any manager to ensure smooth functioning on the part of his employee without requisite technical knowledge. Next is human skills. Human skills are related to those skills that facilitate better coordination among the different individuals in the organization. Human skills influence the manager's ability to collaborate well with the people. Since all the managerial activities are related to individuals, they must develop their skills to lead, motivate and communicate effectively with their group or organization. Now, these skills are demonstrated while interacting with the subordinates, peers, stakeholders, customers and the clients, and are important for all the levels of the organization. Next is design skills. Now, it is the ability of the manager to find the solutions to the problems of an organization from time to time. Managers use these skills when they consider the overall objectives and strategy of the organization. Their activities relate to the different units and their role with the external members of the organization. The manager should be able to anticipate the issue and should be sufficiently resourceful to solve them effectively. Without such skills, it becomes difficult for managers to put all the units in a single direction towards the accomplishment of the objectives. The design skills are not limited to the troubleshooting function, but they are much more important and include all those activities that eliminate the grievances of the employees. Design skills are used with increasing frequency as a manager goes up the career leader and assumes greater responsibility in the organization. Next is a conceptual skills. Friends, the manager should possess the ability to view the organization as an integrated system with its various subsystems concerned and connected to each other. An organization has several verticals which perform a variety of functions. The manager must be able to understand and relate these functions with the other functions that are conducted in the organization using his conceptual skills. The rationale that is inherent in the conceptual skill contributes to the management function of the decision making. Management thinkers regard this skill as a critical skill for the top management who strategize, formulate goals and objectives for the entire organization, and the middle management who get things done and contribute to the achievement of the goals of the organization. Next is analytical skills. So, analytical skills are the crucial for a manager to perform his duty. Logical analysis of the problem or situation assumes importance in the context of organizational functioning. It is more significant in the current context in view of the knowledge and the data that is generated in the management of the business across the world. So, in these times of data explosion, big data, data mining and the data analytics have assumed significance. So, friends, technology has simplified the way the data can be treated and processed, but it becomes incumbent on the manager to interpret and make sense of the data that is generated in the organizations. Analytical skills of the manager to apply logical and systematic approaches to evaluate the alternatives and provide the optimal solution thus is essential in the contemporary context. Now, let us see the activity. The parents are the best managers in our house. Observe your mother or father. See for yourself which of those skills that they use in their work are there in you. Write down the skills used for each activity in order of the priority. You will know the skills required in their functioning. So, these you need to do for yourself so you can analyze the management skills. Now, let us try to understand the characteristic of a good manager. Friends, management literature also evidences that the characteristic of a good manager in addition to the skills needed for an effective manager. Organizational experience demonstrates a respectable number of successful managers and not so successful managers across the world. It is attributed to the characteristic or traits that managers possess in their functioning. It is always heard in corporate circles that people leave the organizations not because of the organization but because of the managers. When it comes to what are those traits that distinguish that good with not so good managers, literature and experience does not provide a straight-jacketed, all-encompassing answer. Several factors like type of the organization, size of the organization, goal, strategy, team, location, along with a host of the external factors, for example, COVID-19 in the current context, play a significant role in the organizational success. So, like that, it impacts the managerial functioning. Successful managers, however, has different characteristics, which involves number one, understand the vision and communicate it. Friends, it is very important to be communicative. Every organization has a vision, mission and goals that are explicitly spelled out in this vision document. The manager must have ability to understand it and convey the same with a clarity so that he is able to orient his team towards the achievement of the goals spelled out in the strategy document. Secondly, independent thinking and assuming responsibility. Friends, managerial functioning revolves around the decision making. Within the given context and the resources, the manager must act autonomously and independently to take the decisions which meet the standards of the organization. His functioning should be such that he is able to influence and empower his team, all the same assume the responsibility for the results. Thirdly, knowledge. Organizational functioning involves complex resources and the procedures, rules and the regulations, both external and internal, which the manager must comprehend in its functioning. Added to that, a sound knowledge of the competition, market, changes in the policy, technology, economic landscape is the vital for ensuring the success. Thus, knowledge in terms of both the theory and practice of the management assumes significance, more so in the contemporary changing context, helping them to be the command of the goals of the organization and winning the trust of his team. Next is taking the right decisions at the right time. Friends, decisions are arrived at after going through a lengthy process. It is important that the manager must take the right decisions at the right time, but he should also have the ability to understand the whole process in such a way that he can give ideas in the decision and the design stage, looking at the alternatives and then make them so that the contribution is there in the process. The decision is very, very important. So, the manager's decision making function it particularly effectively when taking the corrective actions and the corrective decisions at the right time, making the manager successful or otherwise. Next is demonstrating leadership and motivating the team. So, friends, a manager is always the leader of the team. As a leader, the actions of a manager influence the actions of the team. On one hand, his actions contribute to building his relationship with the team and command him the respect for his leadership traits. In getting this done, the manager uses this trait to influence, to inspire and motivate them towards the achievement of the goals of the organization. Next is empathy. Empathy in simple terms relates to the art of knowing and understanding the feelings, needs, interest and so on. The team members and all those with whom the manager connects in his capacity to create the harmonious relationships. With the organizational expectations from the employees increasing day by day, it becomes especially very important for the manager to emphasize with the team and others in the achievement of the objectives of the organization. Next is conflict resolution. All the organizational activities in the current context is team-based and has no boundaries. It is but natural to have conflicts when several teams work from various locations with the diverse cultures driving them. Managers must have the ability to listen, understand, and comprehend the different opinions to manage the conflicts without losing the balance and taking sides. Conflict resolution demands a calm, cool, objective approach from the manager to provide a solution and manage the stress and strains of the team as well. Next is emotional balance. Friends, psychologist has earlier also stressed that the intelligence quotient of a manager during the managerial functioning is very important. Research in psychology, however, emphasize the importance of the emotional balance of the manager as extremely important in managing the team and ever changing, uncertain, volatile business environment. Now let us see, how do managers know whether they are really good or not. So managers perform critical functions in the organization. Their role thus becomes significant and the way they take into account their role becomes much more important. But how do managers know whether they are doing it right or not? So interviews with the managers revealed interesting fact of what they felt about their role. The interviews revealed that manager one saying that I was happy when I was promoted. I entered my office with a renewed enthusiasm, although I did not know what was in store for me in the job. I didn't have any idea about the management principles to be applied and did not give any thought to the approach or a method I should use in the new assignment. I went blank on everything I had on hand when I entered the office to assume my new responsibility. Now, when we asked to the manager too, he said that when I was promoted, of course, it was good news for me. After all my effort paid off and was reorganized. I held my head high and walked into my office amidst of all the cheers from my peers. The thought that it is not just my work that mattered but getting things done by the team bothered me suddenly. I imaginated the way my manager struggled this way through in this role. I ran out my ideas on how I can take care of the targets, set the targets for the team, not to think of the other responsibility of the position staring at me. The managers who were promoted to the managers' positions revealed their utter ignorance in taking up the positions of the managers. The interviews speak volumes about their capacity to take up the role of a manager based on the prior performance. Although they demonstrated their low confidence in taking up the responsibility, these are normally the hidden feelings of the most new managers, irrespective of the department they belong to. So the transition from their individual performance to the setting of the objectives, obtaining work done, which essentially centered on all the functions of the management, suddenly shifted them. The skills that they demonstrated earlier, based on which they were promoted, will not suffice for them in the new managerial position. So the organizations would anticipate them to perform better as a manager. Thus, the new role that they take upon themselves along with the skills they possess would determine them good managers or not. So, in addition, the role of manager is changing very fast in the ever-changing, volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous context, thus making the role of the manager much more significant in the organizational context. Now, let us understand the changing role of managers in the current context. Friends, it is true that today, for various reasons, along with the changing environment, with the advancement in the technology and the tools at the disposal, the employees are aware of the duties and responsibilities, and hence they can manage their work and intricate the details embedded in it. So, there is not much for the manager to micromanage. Further, the change environment from a manufacturing paradigm to knowledge-driven service economy and the consequent transition from a top-down approach to employee-centered approach calls for a changed role of the manager in the current context. So, there are numerous perspectives on the role of the manager in the modern contemporary era. Some of there are: the very definition of the manager is one who wields power and authority to get the things done in an organizational context, get change in the change context of the self-managed employees and the teams. Management is viewed more as a process, and that the role of the manager is the one whose role is to engage everyone to achieve the desired outcome. It must be stated that the contemporary context requires management as much more than achieving the changes in the world. Work style, work design, workplace with the technology support, and the employee orientation towards the work. So, the focus is also focusing upon the role and the style of the manager than the function of the management, as everyone is involved in some form of management or the other at their levels. It is thus understood that the role of the manager relates to a particular application of the management and not the entire management, as it was done in the past with the innovation as the key driver, the knowledge driven economy with the knowledge workers. The managerial roles is woven around engaging them to complete their activities without much focus on the details of the work. Thus, relooking at the role of the managers in the changing context highlights the important roles to the manager. According to McCremon, the managers must behave as investors, customers, coach and partners, as they share some attributes of each of the actors. Let us look into managers as investors. Friends, investor attempts to allocate his resources in return for the best results. One of the functions of the management is to allocate the resources to achieve the objectives and achieve the best return like any other investor. A good manager is thus one who can effectively utilize the resources for the optimal returns. In a knowledge-based economy, the manager differs from the investor in the two ways. First, the knowledge workers know their work and hence bargain on the resources they tend to get from the manager. It cannot be unilaterally decided by the manager as can be done by the investor with the investment. Secondly, since the teams are built by the managers in the organization, they work closely with the knowledge workers, unlike the investors who maintain a distance after the investment is made. Next is managers as a customers. So friends, the customer feedback on the product or service is determined by the quality of the product or the services. We all know that customers are the king. The employees are self-centered and self-managed and thus provide services to the organizations, and the managers as internal customers. Since the employees know their work, they can gauge the needs of the manager and give him services which at times even managers can overlook. So in this context, they feel empowered to not only do their work but also decide on the processes of the work, thus contributing to the manager and the organization as operators of the business. Unfortunately, the knowledge workers are generally in a short supply and hence they demonstrate more power than their customers and can provide more advice, thus transforming the function bottom up from earlier top-down approach. The managerial role in the change context is like any other customer waiting for the feedback from the employees. Next is manager as a coach. So as a coach, it is normally seen in the sports guiding the players toward winning matches. Similarly, a manager in the role of a coach facilitates, guides and coordinates the activities of the team towards the achievement of the goals. So in the contemporary organizational context where the talented resources with the niche skills are scarce, a manager must essentially manage and retain the talent. In the role of the coach, the manager must weigh his options very carefully to listen and to retain the talent. Thus, the role of a manager is seen more in the coaching rather than directing the employees. Now see manager as a partner. So the knowledge workers are understood more as a partner in the process of the management. Organizations forge partnerships with the external suppliers to fulfill many of its requirements. Employees, because of their knowledge, similarly act as an internal suppliers of the services and partner with the organization in the process of the management. Thus, the manager must understand the change organizational context and the practice the notions of the leadership and management as an investor, coach, partner and the customer for the competitive advantage. Now, after understanding all these areas of the management, let me summarize the session. Friends, we have seen that management is a practice which is used concisely and consciously, and it is in a continually shaping organizations. The role of the managers, the functions they perform, the processes that they follow is crucial to the achievement of the organizational objectives. It is very important that we have seen that they possess the skills and competences which are critical in the day-to-day functioning, and the managerial function is performed across all the levels, but the fact remains that the management is a practice, produces the contributions and consequences, and the role of the manager assumes significance in this situation. The managerial functions are geared towards this end. However, modern managers and the modern organizations are facing the challenges of a different order. The role of the manager has seen transformed into the ever evolving organizational context to understand the future challenges and ready to model the role accordingly. I hope you are clear with all the fundamentals, and I hope you like the session. Thank you.